Okay, Rabbi say this week we're going to be celebrating Mitzvah Shem Lag Ba'omer. So you have to live with the times. So let's discuss a little about Lag Ba'omer. And because I was asked to give a halacha shir, so what does Lag Ba'omer have to do with halacha? There's beautiful things about Lag Ba'omer in general. Why is Reb Shimon Yochai singled out as one of the only Tanoim that we celebrate his Yom Lula, and how we celebrate it, and the different minhagim? There's a lot to learn about Lag Ba'omer. However, let's come at it mitzad the halacha. There are some. First of all, you have to know that Reb Shimon ben Yochai is known for the Zohar, and that's why we celebrated with the fire, because he brought a special light into the world. But for those who learn Gemara, it's traditionally we thank you. Traditionally, we say that you can't go by a page without a buyer or other. Okay, I don't know for every page, but close. But one of the more common names you find in Mishnah is Reb Shimon, and usually it's Stam Reb Shimon is Reb Shimon ben Yochai. So for whatever reason, he became so famous about the Zohar, Kabbalah, Chassidus. But Gemara, Reb Shimon, Stam Reb Shimon is Reb Shimon ben Yochai. So everything you know about Lag Ba'omer, Reb Shimon ben Yochai, it's for all types of Jews, those who concentrate on Kabbalah, those who concentrate on Gemara. Everybody has reason to celebrate. So there are a couple statements that the Gemara mentions about Reb Shimon said, that has great halachic connotations. And they also have great meaning and avodah to it. Like, for example, Nebuch last year, it's a year after the tragedy in Iran, last year everybody kept on quoting, there's a statement in the Gemara Gittin, where the Gemara says, Kedayu Reb Shimon lismachol b'shas hadchak. Over there the Gemara talks about a machlokes, if God forbid somebody's writing a get. So the get has to be, the whole get has to be written in the same time. Since by Yiddishkeit tonight is the next day. So what happens if you start writing the get in the morning and you finish at night? You have two different days. So there's a machlokes. Reb Shimon is the one that says as long as it's close by, it's in the morning and night, it's kosher. Now, not necessarily we paskin like Reb Shimon. However, the Gemara says, Kedayu Reb Shimon lismachol b'shas hadchak. If it's a case of push comes to shove and there's a big questions and they're married or next they went off to get married, so we could rely on Reb Shimon. Now that's a very powerful statement. Rely when push comes to shove, when all things go, count on Reb Shimon. That became the slogan. If you ask a standard person on the street, everybody knows that statement. Reb Shimon lismachol b'shas hadchak. They don't necessarily know where the statement originates, but it became a statement that if all else fails, count on Reb Shimon. And that's why last year it was very emotional, but punked by Reb Shimon, that tragedy happened. Okay, I'm not going to concentrate on that Gemara. I want to concentrate on another Gemara about Reb Shimon. Everybody knows a Gemara in Sukkah where Reb Shimon says, Yachal ani lifter sa'olam mishas adin. If it was up to me, if I could save everybody from the day of judgment, the whole world could be freed from the day of judgment. And the question is, what's going on, and why only he could do that, and what's behind this all? So, first thing I want to quote is a Gemara in Eruvin. The Gemara in Eruvin, Reb Shimon wasn't the only one that said such a statement. Today's days, a lot of the Breslov Chassidim, for example, walk around saying that Reb Nachman said, if you come to his caver, to Uman, afilu atzmug, even if the sins were so hard, he'll schlep you out of a Gehenna if you do There are certain tzaddikim that took it upon themselves. The Rebbe in the shiva of his father-in-law, of the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbe said that the minhag of Chabad is not to say hespedim eulogies, but speak stories about the person who passed away. It is customary. And the Rebbe said a couple of stories about the Frierdiker Rebbe. And one of the stories he mentioned was a story with the Barditchever. That the Barditchever said once that, the tzaddikim all promised that they're going to help their followers and if anything they need upstairs and anybody's in trouble. But somehow when they got upstairs, I think the expression was, they threw them candies and they and they got lost with all the awesomeness that's happening upstairs, and they sort of, they lost the connection, they lost the commitment. And the Rebbe was talking about it. The Friedrich Rebbe, when he promised he's not going to allow himself to go into Gan Eden until his people get help. The point I'm saying this is Reb Shimon says, I'm not going to let bad things happen. Yochel ani lifter mishas hadin. But in the Gemara in Eruvin, the Gemara actually brings another Moira, another Tana that said a similar thing. And because Eruvin comes first, I figured I'll see this one first. Amar Rav Sheshis is in Eruvin da Samach Daled Amar Beis. Amar Rav Sheshis Mishum Rav Elazar ben Azariah. Rav Sheshis said the name of Rav Elazar ben Azariah. Yochel ani lifter es kol ha'olam kuli min adin. I can absolve all Jews from the judgment. I can make sure no Jews are in trouble from any sins that they did. Miyon shacharav beis hamikdash v'ad achshav. Any mischief, any bad thing that you did from the time of the Churban till now, call me as your lawyer. Says Rashi. Yichalani lifter, says Rashi. Litoin, I'll call Yisrael Fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I could defend any Jew when it comes to in front of the Eibishter. Davar sheyifteru kulam midina la'aslavi. I have the right words to say that everybody will be freed off the hook. What am I going to say? Says Rashi, I'm going to say, excuse me, you're blaming the Jews for not coming to Minyan. You're blaming the Jews for talking to Shul. What else you want? I'll give you one answer. Shikurim, they're all drunk. Not because the vodka. They're drunk because they're lost in Golos. They're lost. Ve'ein and nitfasim alafainim. You can't blame them for their sins. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, right? Or was it Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, when a Yid is in trouble upstairs, call me. I'm going to be your lawyer, and I'm going to say, it wasn't your fault, you were drunk. You think it's a funny question, a funny statement, yeah? And he brings a pasuk for this. L'chein shimi nazois. Listen to me. He brings a pasuk from the Navi. Aniya, you poor people, or schayris, and shikayris, and you drunk people. V'loi miyayin. They weren't drunk from wine. They were drunk because they're in a daze. They're lost. They're lost in the crowd. So you see that the Yidden cannot be blamed for what they're doing because they're lost. So the Gemara asks, really? You tell me if a guy drinks, a guy who's literally drunk is free to go, all systems go, he doesn't get blamed for what he does? There's a din in Shulchan Aruch, there's a din in the Gemara that says, shikr, if somebody, while he's drunk, makes a sale, he sells you his car, and you come back to him and say, okay, I'm here to pick up the car. He says, car? What are you talking about? He says, we agreed and we shook on it yesterday. He says, yesterday I was drunk. So the din is, shikr mikchay mekach umemkari memkar. Shikr, if somebody does a sale, any transaction while he's drunk, the sale is final. You can't say, because I was drunk, I'm not responsible what I did. So if so, it's not a good excuse. It is not a good excuse. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah cannot use this upstairs. A person is, even though he's drunk, he's legally responsible for all he did. And the Gemara goes on and says, Avar Aveira, if a person does an Aveira while he's drunk, and the Aveira is a punishment of Misa Rahman al-Islam, he gets that punishment. Malchus, he gets that punishment. Kalalai shel davar, the general rule is, Harehu kipikeach l'chol dvarav. There's in Hilchos Tefillah we know there are two levels. A shikr could still drink. A shasui, somebody who's I think it's called plastered. I'm not in that league. Somebody, he's not allowed to drink. He's not allowed to daven. But as somebody who's a shikr, he's responsible for everything he does. And the klali shel davaru dareyu kibikeach l'chol dvarav. Halachically, we have to treat him like a regular person. So what's pshat? So what are you going to do, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah? And for the Gemara, you're right. He cannot use this excuse for everything. He has this excuse for one Aveira. And us shul members, in every shul, we have to take this to heart. This excuse will only work for one Aveira. Which Aveira? El shapatur min hatfilah. Only Aveira that you could say that to is, why didn't you daven like a mensch? Why didn't you come to davening on time? What? So for that, if they're going to line them up and they want to whip the person because of that, that's where shikr could work as an excuse. Because for that, you're standing in front of the Eibush, you have to be put together. Any other mitzvah, you just got to get done, even if you're a little tipsy. Shikr, if after 120 they say, why didn't you daven so good? This, I can help you. For this Avera, I can help you. I started this year with this Gemara because we see Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah already used this. The famous Gemara is a Gemara in Maseches Sukkah, Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis, where the Gemara says like this: Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Mishum Rashbi. Rabbi Yirmiyah said in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Yachol ani lifter es kol ha'olam kuloi min adin. I am able to save the whole world from the day of judgment. Miyoim shenevresi ad ata. From the time I was born until now, I will take it upon myself. I have what to take care, help you guys. The ilmale Elazar b'niimi, and if you get my son Elazar to come along and join me, not only from when the time I was born, I could handle. Miyom shenivra ha'olam v'ad achshav. I could find excuses. I could protect from the time the world was created till now. You're all free. The ilmale Yosem ben Eziyo imanu. If you throw in one more person, he's throwing Yosem ben Eziyo, a name that you probably didn't hear so often, then not only we could be the best lawyers from the time of Brias Olam until now, Miyoim Shenivra Olam Ad Soifoi, us three will protect any Yid from any Avera from the time of creation of the world forever. First of all, who is this Yosem ben Eziyo? So Rashi says, Tzadikaya, he was a righteous person, va'anov, and a very humble person, Yosem Misham Malachim. He was a melech, a king amongst Jews, but he was a more righteous and more humble than any other king. Where do you see this? V'zacha b'kibud aviv, and he had tremendous amount of kibud aveim. That's his merit. What was this tremendous amount of kibud aveim? First of all, the tendency is that when a parent gets old, boom, the kid gets in and takes over the business and pushes the parent away. His father became old. His father was very, very sick. He didn't do anything. First of all, the pasuk said how he honored him. His father was a mitzayra. A mitzayra was mechutz lamachana. He didn't do anything without his permission. Any question that was addressed to him, he said, I got to ask my tati. Typically, he's in old age. Go weiter. No. He had tremendous kibbud aveim. And Shimon ben Yochai says, leave it up to us three. Leave it up to me. I could protect anybody from when I was born. Add my son in there from Brias Shemaim. Va'aretz. Add this Yosem. You're all saved until the end. Okay, there's tremendous amount of beautiful perushim on this. But this is a halacha shir, so I'm going to say 3 halachic reasons why specifically Reb Shimon ben Yochai could defend us. What did Reb Shimon ben Yochai elsewhere say? That because of his opinion in halacha, he is the right defense lawyer for us. And perhaps, if you know you sing in the Gunim, that people sing by Lag Baimer, there's a very famous Torah say Magen Lanu. His Torah, Shimon ben Yochai's Torah, is our shield, is our protection. Specific. It's not about the Zohar. Certain teachings that he's taught us will protect us when time comes, because he's going to defend us based on his psak din. So what are they? There is a Gemara in Masechta Shabbos. The Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, there's many ways to explain it. I'm just picking 3. The Gemara in Masechta Shabbos, Daf Tzadik Beis, Amud Beis, says Adin in Hilchos Shabbos. We know you're not allowed to carry. In Rosh Hashanah, you're not allowed to carry. You're not allowed to do a malacha. There's lamates malachas you're not allowed to do. What happens if I'm not doing it myself? If I do it together with somebody else. So 2 people together do a malacha. So the Gemara says, Ze'eina yachol, v'ze'eina yachol. If each one was able to do it themselves and another guy just tagged along, then you can't. It's just 2 people are doing a job for one person. So it's one halacha. How about if this the malacha that we're talking about is a malacha that you couldn't do it by yourself. The only way it could be done is if both of them join together. So everybody else but Reb Shimon says, if you can't do it yourself, and this is the only way it gets done, you guys did the Aveira. You get blamed. Reb Shimon says, no, Ze'eina Yachol, Ze'eina Yachol. If both, even though they both can't do it by themselves, then you need both together to get it done, still pater, because you didn't do the malacha yourself. It was a joint effort, and you don't get punished for a joint effort. Okay, so how is that related to our topic? It is well known that that anybody in this world today is created. We say, in Ashiyatzar, the bracha is, how you messiah the bracha of Ashiyatzar? Reifa chabasar umafli lases. God who heals every flesh. Umafli lases. And he does wonders. What wonders? What wonders are we referring to? So the simple touch is, I even know personally a doctor who became frum. I asked him once why he became frum. He says, because I went to medical school and I realized that the phenomenal system that the Eibishter created in the body, how eyelashes protect the eyes, fingernails, and the system within everything. I said it must be an Eibishter. Just knowing how the Eibishter created the body. So Mafli Lasis is that the physical body is such a wonderful piece of art. That's one way. Other Mefarshim say Mafli Lasis, the Eibishter does wonders because there are opposites here. Just like fire and water can coexist, in our body, in every one of us, there's two opposite forces. There is the guf, which is physical and drags you down to gashmis, and the Eibishter puts on the shama inside, and the shama is all spiritual. It's just, and that's a piece of art that we can't understand. So it's a wonderful thing that the Avudraham says this. Umafli lasis, to be able to make these two coexist is a wonder. In other words, in each one of us, there is two opposites, and only with the two together we survive. V'haraya, God forbid, when the neshama leaves, the body's dead. The body can't move. The neshama itself doesn't accomplish its thing. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin that Atunidin said to Rebbe that because everybody has a guf and a neshama, that's a defense. What's the defense? For the day of judgment. Because the guf could say to the neshama, I didn't sin, my body doesn't move. I didn't do anything, I'm a dead man. It's because you infused with some spirit that made me move, so I'm off the hook. The neshama says, me? Spirit sins? I don't sin, I'm edel, I'm in the luften. So each one is blaming the other. The bottom line, this is a trick that goes on. I once heard a beautiful shot from Reb Baruch Mebezhebush. I think it's in Reb Baruch Mebezhebush, that he says, where's the chutzpah that we say tachnun? Today we're not saying tachnun, right? Thank God, you zip through it. Where's the chutzpah that when you say tachnun, you say, Ashamnu, we sin. Who's we? Where are you? He looks like a tzaddik. Well, I'm not going to say we sin. I say Ashamti. Who's the we? So maybe if it's a tzaddik, a Rebbe says, I didn't sin, but I'm praying for that person. But me, I'm a simple person. I say Hashem T. So a beautiful pshat. Only Chassidish can take such a. So the pshat is like this. I think it was Reb Baruch Mebezhebush said that we talked to the Eibishter. I say, Eibishter, look at me. I'm a nobody. I'm a guf. My guf, what is it? It doesn't move. It's the neshama that makes me life. It gives me life, makes me movement. So, Eibishter, we're partners. Everything that happens, it's not I'm doing it, we're doing it. If chas v'sholem I sinned, we sinned. So I talk to you and I say, Hashem knew. Hashem, we sinned together. But God knew. So this is just one way to look at it. So Rab Shimon says that every time there's a malacha on Shabbos, you don't get punished when it's shnayim shasu. Even if each one could do it themselves. So because in every one of our bodies, in every one of our existence, there's a guf and a neshama, he's going to turn upstairs, Bezdin Shalmayla, say, hey, Bishner, you can't punish this person. It was Shnayim Shosu, and together they did it, and together they did it, Rab Shimon Paskins is Pater. That's one halacha that applies in Hilchah Shabbos. where it would be a reason for Yachal Liftas Kol Ha'olam Miom Adin. There's a couple of more places Reb Shimon says dinim that he argues with others, and that we could use as a defense. Let me use another Gemara. The Gemara in Kedushin. There's a Gemara in Kedushin Daf Yud Chesem at Beis. Reb Shimon holds Ein Adam Moicher as Bitei L'Shivchus Acher Shivchus. We know that Allah, that Minatayra, thank God this thing changed from hundreds of years ago. But hundreds of years ago, like in the third world countries, if Nebuch, there was a family that didn't have money, one of the things they would do is they'll sell their little kid, sell it off as a maid, and that's how they make money. So halachically, as long as your kid is under a certain age, you have rights to sell her. So it says Reb Shimon, Ein adam meicher as bitei l'shivchus acher shivchus. You're never allowed to sell. If you sold your kid, your little daughter, fine, because halachically you are able to. But if the master, after having her for a year or two or whatever, for whatever amount of time, decided to free her, you cannot resell her again. She's out. She's done. She's free. That's the din of Reb Shimon. The Yerachayim HaKadosh uses this very interesting. He uses this clearly in Chumash Shmos when in Perek Chaf Aleph Pasuk Zayin when it says v'chiyimker ishes bitei la'ama. The Yerachayim says yes, it's talking about a man selling his daughter, but also let's talk about us and the Eibishter. We're sold. We're slaves. Now it's interesting. Says the Yerachayim. Let me use his words. V'chiyimker ish. When a man sells, says the Yerachayim HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the Eibishter is also the Ish. He's the Ish Mechama, yeah? The Eibishter sells, who is he selling? As Bita. He's selling his daughter. We find that Gemara refers to the relationship between Klal Yisrael and the Eibishter as a father and daughter. He sold us. He sold us away. We fell. He says, I'm going to sell you away to other nations. So according to Reb Shimon, because once we were sold, the time will come when Reb Shimon will fight for us and say, Eibishter, we were sold already once. You can't do this again and again and again. You got to take us out because halachically, once we were freed, you have no right. So that's another defense based on the opinion of Reb Shimon. Elsewhere, that would be his defense in our day of judgment. But then perhaps there is the most famous one, which is a very general rule in Hilchos Shabbos. I just recorded a video, a halachic video, very big controversial issue. I'm sure you have it over here also, on censored lights, or you have a video camera inside? It became a latest shiloh was, a lot of shuls have video cameras, right? For security, which is fine. I shouldn't say if you have a, not everybody knows you don't have a video.
They think they
yeah.
We're 7
To listen to the story. So a person who wants to make a bar mitzvah, or a person who wants to make a offer for, usually you don't do anything without a photographer. You need a photographer. Photographer costs a lot of money. Today he's going to come out with the rabbi and say, I would like to make a bar mitzvah. I don't need a photographer. Sunday, I'm going to come to you. I'll get the recording of my son laning, because you have the security camera, and that will be my video for my son laning. So all these type of shilas. So anyways, what is that kind of? A lot of these halachas are categorized in one rule. This is a davar she'ena miskaven. Davar she'ena miskaven means you did something on Shabbos, but the trickle-down effect wasn't intentional. We have different types. We have davar she'ena miskaven. We have sikresha. A thing gets done on Shabbos that's not allowed, but it was not my intention to do it. So there's a concept called sikresha. Sikresha means if I do A, and B must follow automatically, even though my intention was not for B, my intention was only to get A done, but if it's a must, I might be responsible. Here's the classical example. The classical example here, you have a backyard, and you want to sit down. You want to sit down in the grass. So you're making a kumzitz. You want to sit down in the grass for Shabbos. So you want to slap together a table, slap together a chair, and everybody will sit in the shade. Excuse me, when you're dragging the tables and chairs on the grass, you're plowing the ground. Plowing is one of the 39 malachas. You're not allowed to. I'm not interested in plowing. I'm not a farmer. I don't know anything about this. I just want to get my chevra to sit together. So this is the big machlekes between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. Davar she'eina miskaven. Things that I don't plowing, which I'm not intending to plow. I want to get the bench over, and that's all. Am I allowed to do that on Shabbos or not? So the summary of that halacha is it also depends what type of chair and what type of bench. If you think of one of these, you're picking it up, or you're schlepping a little nothing. It doesn't necessarily have to plow. That's one thing. But if you're schlepping a heavy table that it must plow, it must drag the ground, then nobody will allow it to pass so easy. But something like a light table, light chair, it could be it didn't. So davar she'eina miskaven. Rabbi Shimon holds davar she'eina miskaven. If I move the tables and chairs and I want the group to be there and I'm not interested, pater. A pater. Rabbi Yehuda said, what do you mean? It's happening. You can't be pater. Says Reb Shimon, say the Mefarshim, this is Reb Shimon, this davar she'eina miskaven is what's going to help us la'asad lavei b'yom adin. Reb Shimon is going to turn to the Eibishter and say, Eibishter, you're blaming these Jews for doing this, for all these averas. Everything they did was unintentional. They didn't want to do it. They were pressured for this. They had circumstantial things there, but no yid. You know, when we do a mitzvah, we wash our hands, we say l'shem yichud. I'm going to do a mitzvah. I've never found a yid who says, I'm going to do an avera. The avera happens. The avera happens. So it was unintentional. And my psak din is, a davar she'eina miskaven, it's pater. Huh? You like that one? Why did you only say, but why did you like only this one and the other two you didn't?
I loved all of them, but this one.
No, but you didn't smile with
This
them.
one resonated. This one.
I hope we're unintentional. You know, there's a word from the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek in Derech Mitzvah, I'm pointing as if there's a Derech Mitzvah there. The Tzemach Tzedek says, why when we do tshuva, we know that what's tshuva? Tshuva is charata al havar, regret the past, and kabbalah al haba, and good resolutions for the future. But then you also have to say vidui, confession. Why? Why isn't the first two things good enough? So the Tzemach Tzedek says a very fascinating thing. He says when a person does an avera, there's two parts to the avera. There's the action of the avera, and there's the zest, the excitement while he did the avera. I had fun. Yeah, if you don't have fun, you're not doing avera. One is a feeling, and one is an action. So when you want to do tshuva, says the Tzemach Tzedek, I have to erase the action and I have to erase the feeling. Both, because you created two monsters, a two-headed monster, right? Action-packed figure, a two-headed monster. How do you demolish that? So when you have the Kabbalah, Charata al-Avar and Kabbalah al-Toiva, al-Haba, that's a feeling. I regret the past and I feel good, I commit to be better. For that, you're uprooting the bad feelings that you had by the Avera. But how are you uprooting the action? You did something. For uprooting the action, you have to do an action. And the action you have to do is because, according to some opinions, Akimas Svasa of Halamaisa, saying words is an action. So that's why you have to say vidu. Your action should break the other action. So I'm saying is, when I saw you, I don't know why I thought about it, the other ones you didn't smile as much. You didn't even say, eh. Anyway, so this is the summary of these. Reb Shimon is all over Shas. Reb Shimon ben Yochai, you find Reb Shimon, you read Perkei Avos, there's a lot of Reb Shimons. He's all over Shas. But when we sing on Lag B'Omer, this time when you sing Lag B'Omer, you say, Teirah say Magen Lanu, his Teirah will protect us. It's at least these three shittas, these three opinions that he has in Shas. Either davar she'eina miskaven is mutter, or shnaim shasu pturim, or the Eibishter can. Could you smile on all three or not? or you're not allowed to sell us again once you sold us once. That's going to keep us out of trouble. That's going to keep us out of the mud. And with this, we'll be saved. Baruch Hashem.
Very nice. Thank you.